In this anime, a middle-aged man plays a video game, deliberately choosing the weakest and most useless abilities for himself. But somehow, by training these abilities, he surprises everyone with his abilities. This is a new fall anime called Our Reality. Reality can be stressful, and almost everyone needs an escape from reality. Our main character, Diki, is just like that. Diki is a lover of video games. To him, it is his hiding place where he can do whatever he wants and escape from reality. A new game has just been released, and Diki doesn't want to miss out. He is a 37-year-old company worker who spends most of his time at work and barely has time for himself. But he has decided to dedicate the little time he has to play his games. He starts by setting up his virtual figure, naming his virtual personality Earth. When creating a virtual character, the first thing and the most important thing to do is to create how the virtual being would look like. To do that, since he is quite older than most game players, he decides to name his character way younger. He also decides that it is fair that his virtual character should look shorter than he is in real life. The next part of the game is picking his skills. As a worker, he doesn't have the luxury of time to waste, and he can't have much time to concentrate on the game. As a result, he decides that he would prefer not to have friends or party in the game. The best way to avoid public attention is by picking underrated skills. When people see those skills, they would believe he is weak, and it wouldn't do them any good to associate with them. He starts by picking out a bow. The bow is a very underrated skill in the game. Archers don't get to kill monsters fast, and it really affects their ratings. His aim is that if he keeps up that way, he will be able to avoid other people while enjoying his game. He picks other skills like wind. Wind is also underrated because it is weak against fire and earth. He also picks kick and sneak. Eventually, he picks about 8 skills and sets out for his virtual life. The game is quite simple. It isn't like the other games where you would have to kill a boss or get promotions. In that game, you just have to kill monsters and spend time with others if you wish to. His first day in the game world isn't very great. He feels he could become a hunter or he could sell weapons and instruments to other hunters, and he can even make magic potions and sell them to hunters. As he arrives in the game world, he is welcomed cheerfully by a seller who asks him if he is a newbie. She asks him to buy his required weapons from him. But before he walks closer to her, he sees some players fighting monsters in the sky. He watches for a while and returns to reality. A huge player comes behind him and hits him. He asks him if he doesn't know that archers aren't in that game and there is no way he can achieve anything great by being an archer. He hits him and falls him off. The other game players refuse to come to his rescue, and they all make side comments as regards how they were wise enough to avoid the bow skills. LOL, if only they knew that he intentionally picked it. Among the players, a lady takes a liking to him, but she doesn't approach him. He goes to the training center to train his skills. He starts by training his archery skills, but he is so disappointed in himself. His first attempt flies to the sky, and while he hopes his second and third attempts will be a little better, they even turn out to be worse. He shoots several bows, and after about 100 attempts, his archery skills advance to level 5. He moves to improve his wind skills. After chanting the wind magic skill, he uses the wind needle. And I guess he is more fortunate with that skill because he could use it in his first attempt. He also trains some of his other skills before he decides to go to the field and hunt. Upon getting there, he sees a crowd of people. Everyone wants to kill monsters. And as someone who hates attention, he really can't flourish amid those people, so he takes his loss for that moment and decides to get herbs. He uses his long-distance vision skill in the forest to find herbs that are around. He takes some of them, but he doesn't know what the herbs are for. He takes them to the city so he can use his appraisal. After several failures, he succeeds in finding out what the herb is, and he sees it as a suffocation herb. What a waste of time. I mean, who really needs suffocation herbs? He continues by going to the potion store and looking for potions to make medicine. He buys all the materials he needs and takes them home to make the procedures. To make medicines are quite simple, and he gets it. But he is disappointed with how low the efficiency of his medicine is. Medicines are sold for less, and no one would buy from him. He decides to go hunting again, and this time the field is empty. He sees a horned rabbit around, and he tries to use his bow. The best step to success as an archer is getting your first bow right, so he sets his bow, but the rabbit sees him and escapes. He succeeds in shooting the rabbit on his second attempt, and the injured angry rabbit forges at him in anger. He decides to use his kick to finish the rabbit, and he kills it. Two game players see him and come to meet him. One of them sways and laughs at how dramatic Earth was while trying to kill the horned rabbit and says he hasn't seen anyone make those awful sounds because of rabbits before. The other lady, Millie, who had taken a liking to him earlier, asks if they could send a friend request to him, and they send the request. Later, he tries to hunt another rabbit, but the rabbit finds him and runs. He eventually uses his wind skill to kill the rabbit. He wonders if he could figure out a way to hide from the rabbit, and he remembers his sneak skill. He combines his sneak skill with his archery, and he gets his first hit with a bow. His first day seems to be a success, and he eventually logs out to rest. Although that is the time most game players enjoy the game, he has to go to work the next day and needs to rest. Later, at the marketplace, Earth buys bread from an NPC and finds the taste to be rather bland. So he becomes disappointed in the game design and wonders if there will ever come a day when a player will be able to taste in-game food that actually tastes like food inside a VR game. But according to Earth, food that is only created by NPCs tastes like garbage, and theoretically, if a player makes their own food, it apparently tastes like the actual thing. So to test out the theory, Earth grabs a frying pan and a knife along with many other kitchen utensils. He also grabs his seasonings and the cooking set, including the cooker and the other stuff. After making the preparations, Earth puts steak-sized rabbit meat on a sizzling fan and lets it fry first to see if his efforts are going to fruition. He seasoned the steak with salt and pepper, and once it's done, he serves the cooked steak on a plate. He cuts it with no anticipation as to how it is going to taste and gives the steak a bite. At that moment, a disgusting flavor hits him hard, and that causes the system menu to pop up, which also expresses its disgust, giving the steak a 2 out of 10 rating. Still, Earth doesn't give up on his hopes of making a tasty meal and tries once again to cook a perfect steak. This time he cuts the raw meat and prepares it properly first, then he follows up by putting some herbs in like rosemary to give it a more exquisite taste. This time, although the steak looks more tender, it cannot be judged too prematurely. Fortunately, Earth actually finds the steak to be rather delicious and juicy, but it still gets a score of 5 by the system, meaning that there is still room for improvement. So he gets more determined to get the perfect score and boils the next serving first before frying it on the pan. This time, the steak becomes so tantalizing that its herbaceous aroma attracts the people in its surroundings. The smell of the steak spreads throughout the area quickly, making all of the people wonder why they are smelling something like this in an alleyway. Even though the crowd loves the steak by smelling the aroma, the system only gives the steak a score of 7. Earth seems to be happy with it, and as he calls it a day, the crowd who got attracted earlier comes there asking for a piece of that meat for themselves. They even offer to pay Earth, so he, like the humanitarian he is, begins to cook for everyone present there. After spending the entire evening in this cooking hell, Earth manages to satisfy everyone's needs and at the same time gains enough points to level up his cooking skill to level 20. Because he reached this milestone, the system gave him a cooking promotion. Thanks to that, he gets the ability to cook at high speed and escapes the hell of serving everyone for eternity. Later, at his house, Earth begins to make a bow. As he is at the end of the day an archer, since there is no demand for bows in the market, he takes the initiative to make one for himself and begins to cut down a piece of wooden stake. After sewing down more wood and sanding the final bent product, Earth adds some oil to make the crease a little slippery. Then he adds some grips for the part where he will hold the bow with his hands and tie the string that will release the arrows. After doing that, he gets the final product, a wooden arrow. He asks the system to give it a rating, and so the system gives it a score of 3 and an attack of 4. Since its attack is almost mid-tier, Earth gets a bit relieved as his bow is at least a little better than a beginner player's basic bow. After playing with a bow for a while, Earth decides not to procrastinate and plans to make a more complex bow. By compiling 3 pieces of wood together and putting together hard and flexible material, he makes a prototype compound wooden bow and gets an attack of 12, which is way higher than his first bow. Since this is a big improvement, Earth gets satisfied with what he has made and proceeds to prepare for his next gear, proper armor. He quickly heads to an armor shop and buys a rather fashionable yet not so durable looking armor in exchange for a hefty amount of money. But still, the system shows that his stats have increased a little due to equipping the armor, so Earth becomes happy once again. He suddenly remembers that he has some business to attend to and explains that since he has used a lot of money to buy this armor, he is also trying to earn some cash by doing some side business. So he heads into the wilderness to get some loot and hunts a wolf using his new bow. After taking out multiple spiders and wolves, he gathers a pile of materials and heads back to sell them. After a while, the players get brutally attacked by a new system out of nowhere and become desperately in need of potions. Seeing the sudden commotion, Earth calls his only friend, Sway, to hear what's going on and learns that the NPCs have run out of potions, which is why the players are trying to buy potions from other players. Thanks to Earth's plot armor, he has the ability to make potions, and since he has already revealed that ability to the players earlier, they begin to surround him, begging him to make them some potions. So Earth takes the responsibility again to become the only savior of this game and begins to work hard once again. After making a bunch of potions, Earth eventually runs out of medicinal herbs, so he ends his potion making session for today and calls it a day. But before he can take his leave, some bullies along with the guy with flashy armor named W approach him, demanding all of Earth's potions as if all of them are rightfully his. However, Earth is not a pushover, so he compliantly ignores Ward and makes it clear to him that the entire server of players is in support of him currently, and so if this annoying guy tries to do something annoying, he will have to pay for it. Still, Ward remains as ignorant as ever and sends a PvP request to get this over with. Since Earth himself doesn't want to bully like W to boss everyone around, he accepts his PvP request and shows him who the boss is. He instantly finishes him off with his archery skills and reveals that he is no longer the weakling that he was when he started playing this game. After this satisfying moment, Earth takes his leave from the game and logs out for the day. That's it for this video. If you like this recap, kindly like this video and subscribe to our channel so we can bring you a recap of the next episodes of this exciting fantasy anime series. Until next time, stay safe and take care.